Hello, everyone. We are here with a very special episode of That Cartoon Podcast. We are interviewing a Mr. Stephen Trumble. Am I saying that correctly?
Trumble. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
That's cool.
And he is the creator, storyboard artist, the animator, the all-around, just the creator of a yes of a short Batman film that is currently on YouTube called Batman Broken Promise.
So last time I looked at this, I think you had like 314,000 views.
Yeah,
impressive.
It's pretty crazy, especially considering the YouTube channel didn't exist in February. So it's kind of it's unbelievable, really. It's unlike anything that's ever happened to me before in my life. So very exciting stuff.
Yeah. So has anything come from this? Like, have you heard from DC any cease and desist? Or
I don't think that DC has my number. Like I wouldn't know how to get in touch with me. It's really difficult. I talked to somebody the other day who said that he had read that you have to have like 2 million views for DC to even blink. You know what I mean? Like, apparently there is like a water level that by which it becomes something that they will watch or will look at and stuff. So who the hell knows? But no, nothing as of yet. Just a lot of really lovely, kind messages and people like yourselves wanting to chat about geeky stuff, and a lot of fellow creators and stuff have got in touch and said lovely things. And I think I even got a couple of like comic book like artists and stuff have actually gotten in touch, which is really nice, which I won't say because it's like they were like private messages or whatever. But it's the type of thing that would be kind of a bit crazy for me in any other usual kind of setting. But it's the goalposts keep kind of changing, which is really weird because I'm here looking at the 300,000 views, and then I talked to like another one of these podcasts and they were like, no, it was a reaction video. Someone was reacting to the film, and while he was reacting, he was like, "Oh, so it hasn't got that many views," because in his head it needs to be in the millions. You know what I mean? And I'm like, suddenly I feel like a failure.
It's only been out for like what, 2 weeks now or so?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah. That's a lot of views for 2 weeks.
But also I want to try and be the type of creator who, I mean, and this might sound like a bit of a line, but I think it's very, very much the truth, which is the victory is that the film exists at all. Like, it's like the first creative project that I've finished in about 10 years, and I'm always starting, projects and lots of different, like, fingers in different pies and stuff. And so this was like something that, it started in lockdown and just kind of became this kind of weird obsession. I was just doing it in my spare time for 2 years, and then it's just we did it. We actually got it done. Like, on the day that we uploaded it, which was a nightmare in itself. Like, we almost didn't upload it. It was like the first people who watched it were like the people who'd been following it on the Instagram, so like a good like 80 people, and they watched it in 360p. That's how late we were almost getting it online, and they were all in the comment section just being like really lovely and saying like lovely things about it, and we were just like, what? It's not even like 720, man. They were just like, man, it's great, it's beautiful. And I was like, so
it's great how supportive the fan community can be.
Which is funny because you don't, especially like Batman fans, you hear a lot of, negativity around a lot of fandoms. There's always a toxic side, but we haven't really had any of that, which is lovely. Like a good friend of mine, Greg Locke, wrote and directed a Star Trek fan film, and which was released pretty much this year as well, called Star Trek Ambush. And he got like really, really lovely comments as well. So it's kind of this funny thing where it's like, I would never have thought that me and my friend did a Batman and Star Trek fan film in like the same year, and both of them didn't get ripped to shreds by people.
I think a lot of the toxic fan communities have transitioned over to live action.
Yes,
like that's where all their hate goes to.
Well, now they're like sharpening their claws for like Marvel, who are like the people who've been basically like nothing but net for about 10 years. You know what I mean? So it's like it's almost like this cyclical, everything just kind of comes around, you know. And we get a couple of comments sometimes where I don't even know if I can like it or not. Because you know, I like to go through and like all the comments, but it'll be like it'll say something nice about my film, but then say better than the film that hack Reeves made, and it's just like kind of thing where it's like I actually really like the Batman, and I was actually like watching the teaser trailer in lockdown was like the thing that motivated me to like I was just watching it over and over again, you know. And then we went and saw it on my birthday, which was March the 6th, like a month before we finished Broken Promise, and I was sat there in the cinema and I'm like, I have to like this film. There's no way. if it's bad, I'm just gonna go home and commit seppuku. You know.
This is my entire personality for 2 years. I have no choice.
Just throw your hard drive out the window.
Yeah.
And
well, me and Kyle both loved it too.
Yeah, we loved it.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind, man. Thank you.
It really like so we're both huge Batman fans, but very specifically Batman animated fans.
Yeah.
Like the films, obviously Batman animated series, but a lot of the films. And your story was better than anything, in my opinion, anything that DC's put out in the past like 7 or 8 years as far as animation.
I mean, that's crazy flattering. Thank you so much.
They've really kind of given up. I think
they've gone formulaic.
Yeah, they don't have the drive to make things that are out of the box. I've noticed.
Yeah, they're kind of tied into this continuity. And now it's like, I think I said this the other day to someone, where it's almost like, because, you know, they're creating all these spin-off shows, but they're like spin-offs of spin-offs of spin-offs. So you've got like, you know, Alfred Pennyworth, the early years, and then Amanda Waller and like characters like that, who are all great characters. But it's like they're trying to do a backdoor pilot back into their original film.
Yeah.
You know, if they keep following, you know, characters like Amanda Waller, maybe she'll bump into Batman again and we'll get another Batman. You know, it's almost like they're trying so hard to kind of get back to where they were like 5 years ago, where they had the whole, you know, plan in front of them. And everyone was cast and everyone was kind of like, this is the continuity, this is how it's going to be. And then, you know, Spider-Man No Way Home comes back and No Way Home comes and just like completely rewrites the rules on like meta casting.
Right.
And so suddenly it's basically like, oh, well, it turns out we could have anyone play Batman. We could bring back the first ever cinematic Batman, you know, and it would be legit. So, but in a way, it kind of is one of those things where, by making it so that anything is possible, it almost makes it so that like nothing is sacred. Do you know what I mean?
Nothing really matters because you can do whatever you want. So you lose a lot of stakes.
Yeah, stakes.
But
Yeah,
I think that's what comics are in general, though. Like,
yeah, definitely. I mean, nobody dies in comics, do they? So it's like, yeah, there's never going to be any stakes anyway. But I think you're absolutely right in that. I think my friend Liam Dempsey, good podcaster friend of mine, he said that he felt like it's good to have like the Matt Reeves Batman because it feels like a comic book Elseworld story. You know, it feels like a one shot. You know, and you know, comics are just full of different artists, creators creating their own version, and they always change it and they always do their own thing. Like at the moment, my favorite Batman kind of property at the moment, by a nose, is Sean Murphy's White Knight. I'm absolutely in love with his version of Gotham and his version of Batman and the Joker, and I think that it's kind of like what I wanted to do with my thing, which is that try and make it seem, you know, not sacrilegiously different, but definitely my own iteration.
right.
As it was almost like I just thought to myself, like, imagine that I've been hired to make a one shot, and you get one shot, you know, one 15-page story, and it's got Batman in it, and you can put any of the other characters in. What are you going to do with that, you know? And it's just kind of a one story that just sits there on its own. It doesn't really affect the continuity or anything. It's just like a thing, you know. And I think that's kind of, I feel like I did that, so it's good. I think they should treat the movies like that. It's kind of like, you know, I mean, it wasn't really my cup of tea, but like the Joker movie and stuff, like it kind of plays fast and loose with, a lot of the stuff, and it kind of doesn't need to exist. It's such a strange film. It's like the Han Solo movie, like it just doesn't need to exist at all.
No.
But it has that thing of like, okay, it's just one artist came along and did his weird comic book that you can buy, that you can take off the shelf, and if you don't like it, you take a different off the shelf. Maybe that's how it should be.
It's like you said. I think too many people expect any superhero movie to now just be a franchise always. So every movie has to have all these continuations and all these, Easter eggs of future things that are coming out. But it's okay to just have a story self-contained within itself. But to do that, you either have to have like a 3 to 4 hour long movie that you have to just commit that nothing else is going to happen after this. And you have to get a big studio has to then decide we're not going to make any more money off of this one particular person, which they're not going to do. They're soulless.
But isn't that weird that that's how it used to be, that the only way that you could make sequels to a film was if it was really good, and now it's kind of like the better your film is, the less likely it is to have a sequel, because you're like, oh, it was so good, it didn't have any like sequel bait in it, it didn't feel like it was part one of a story.
Well, that's why I think smaller content creators and smaller projects do that now more well, because it's less of an incentive. I mean, you're not getting billions of dollars for doing this. This is just something that you were passionate about and you wanted to do. You wanted to tell a very specific story within the confines of, I think, like 15 minutes, 11 seconds or something like that, and you did it. There's no if this stops right now, it's still a full, complete story.
Exactly. That it doesn't need any more. It's one of those things where it's kind of how I felt when I saw it was the second trailer for the Batman, where I thought, oh, he's acting as if he's not going to get a sequel. He's got fucking Penguin, Riddler, Catwoman in it. I didn't even know the Joker was going to be in it, but it's like, it's almost like that. Maybe that's why it's 3 hours, because it's like, oh, I've only got one shot at this. They're going to recast, they're going to reboot it in a year anyway. So I've got to, do something. And I think that's probably the best way to go about, it. And it was in my head, it was just kind of like, who do I want to see? And I think, without getting too much into spoilers, unless you want to, I feel like I ended up not going for like the usual suspects, if you know what I mean, in terms of the other characters that are involved.
We're down to get into spoilers here.
Yeah, we're usually a fairly spoiler-heavy podcast, but since
it's been out for 2 weeks, we can do it.
Well, I was gonna say, if it's only been about 2 weeks, so I mean, if you want to give people a chance to actually watch it without the spoilers, I'm also fine with that, because there's a lot in here that I was not expecting. There's a lot of twists I was not expecting in this short that I was really.
But see, now I really want to hear about it.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, that's fine. It's your project. I don't care.
I'm really interested in hearing, like, in what you guys have to say, and any questions that you have or whatever. Like, I'm just fascinated.
So if you don't want spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, jump to the last 10 seconds of this.
10 seconds. Where we're just saying bye.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say jump to the last 10 seconds of Batman Broken Promise.
Just
wrap it all up.
Just the credits.
Very concisely.
The credits, away, but don't read the names of the people that are doing it.
Yeah.
He's in this?
Don't read the comments. In fact, that's probably a good idea generally.
It is. So let's dive into the big bads here that we're dealing with. At first, it looks like we're just dealing with Scarface and the Ventriloquist, which if you don't know who they are, it's another crazy person in Gotham, who has a mob boss puppet that kind of controls him.
Essentially.
So you're led to believe he's a big bad, although he's also alluding to, like, he has someone that he's answering to.
Kind of there's a deal going down. There's a collaboration between two gangs, which means that the high and low end of the city can be monopolized, essentially.
In the drug trade. Which we'll come back to that. But and then the second big bad ends up being one of my favorites at least. Harvey Dent, Two-Face.
Yeah, he's an amazing character.
Oh, and the
I
review
find
was
it
great.
I find it so funny that Two-Face, because I think a lot of people are fans of Two-Face, and I feel like, not to kind of badmouth any films in which he's been in, because obviously like The Dark Knight is incredible. Dark Knight is a masterpiece, but we only get 5 minutes really of Two-Face at the end. Like the fact that like he has so much potential as a character, and I've been trying to kind of get this into words lately. It's his restrictions that make him have potential. Almost like a character like the Joker is so unpredictable. He could do anything. So you're kind of never surprised by anything he does. Whereas Two-Face is like a character who 50% of the time he should do the right thing. He's got this moral code that's so precise that and he can't compromise. And it makes him like more interesting to me. Like what do you do? How does a character react when they're boxed into a corner, by themselves? And as a result, I just thought like, firstly, I just wanted to, because I've always loved the character of Two-Face ever since I saw Batman Forever, even though that isn't a very
Two-Face
version. But I even have like my own little kind of reference to that with the glow in the dark paint. It's kind of that's my little my little kind of reference to the Schumacher years, because those were the years when that was like my first time I ever saw a Batman film in the cinema. Like I'd seen the Tim Burton ones, but they kind of were just like weird nightmares, like it was like weird fucked up nightmares. And then I fell in love with Batman Forever, and and then of course the animated series I had watched when I was a kid in America, when I lived in America when I was 6. I'd watched it and I forgot about it for years. Like I knew that I'd watched it because I remembered him standing on the rooftop with the lightning bolt behind him. And I had a toy of Clayface that fired a metal ball. And I had this one memory of Batman falling into Scarecrow's mouth in like a nightmare, which again just kind of occupied this weird nightmare kind of realm in my head. And then it was only in uni or just before university that I saw the animated series box set on shop, and I was like, oh, I love that show, and I bought it. And then it became like how I go to bed at night, because I sometimes I can have a bit of insomnia, a bit of restless brain or whatever. And what I would do for bedtime is I would put Batman in and watch 3 episodes essentially. And because of the way those shows were made, I know you guys probably know all about it because you say you're fans of the animated stuff. All the backgrounds are painted on black paper, because it's easier to do that than paint big old
black
nighttime scenes. And as a result, visually, it's like a glass of warm milk. You know what I mean? It's just physically dark, which is so beautiful, and it's got a beautiful score, like operatic, like orchestral score, and the voices are great. And even like Kevin Conroy's voice is like he's reading you a bedtime story while he's Batman.
Oh, so like velvety.
So velvety. It's so everyone thinks like Batman is like like the evil. Like actually, like no, he's like probably like the best possible. He could be singing you to sleep, and you'd be like, thank you, Batman, and you'd go. And so for about like 3 years or something, like I watched Batman the animated series like every night before going to bed. So Two-Face in that show obviously is so well done. But even he has only like 2 or 3 episodes before he just becomes an out and out villain. Like by the time you get past the episode Second Chance, which is an episode that I really love, which is one of the main influences of this film in terms of like the way Harvey and Batman relate to each other. And you have like the fight at the end, like in the episode Second Chance, that ends with a fist fight between them as well, where Bruce is trying to get him not to follow the coin and things like that. So that was the episode that I told like the actors to watch and say like, this is like what we're going to do. And then after that, he just kind of becomes guy who flicks a coin, and it's always bad heads, which I find really weird. It's statistically impossible for him to always be bad. And then you get like the Arkham games where he's nearly always depicted as just like a gun-toting gangster, kind of pretty much. And it's that thing of like, he's the character who has more to do. He's got more to say, I think. And that's, I think, why I used him in the end.
The problem I think that show runs into is the problem that almost all Batman media runs into, is that everyone wants to talk about the Joker.
Yeah.
So they'll give these other characters a little bit of, they'll have their little arcs, and then it's like, but by the way, what was the Joker doing now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's why I think it's better to have one-off movies with specific characters rather than doing these like big set pieces of like, well, here's 20 characters or 20 villains that are getting together and they're starting their little Legion of Doom, but it's actually just Lex Luthor and the Joker fucking around.
Yeah, exactly. And Justice League, already told us that they can't work together. So it's we already know how that ends. It's not a good idea. It should be Lex Luthor and Gorilla Grodd or whatever,
or Vandal Savage.
Exactly. Yeah, Vandal Savage. That would be amazing, actually.
He's always the best leader of the Legion of Doom, I think.
That's interesting. Well, he's got the long game, hasn't he?
Exactly. He's got some real perspective on things.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I completely agree about Joker, because I think that he's one of those characters that he kind of, I know everything about him.
Exactly.
I just feel like I know him so well. Other people are better at writing him. I almost feel like the only way I could, that's again why I love Sean Murphy's White Knight, because it completely flips Joker on his head and makes Joker the good guy. And it's like he found a way to make me interested again in that character, which is like something that I didn't think was even possible, because I just felt like, oh, I if I see the Joker, I'm like, he's probably going to kill some guys. That's about it. We know what he's going to do all the time. And I think the only way that you could like make him work would be if you threw him in and had him do something genuinely unexpected. But I don't know what that would be, other than just giving Batman a big hug, or something.
I think that's why they have to go through all those, because there was that time period of when they were just making the Joker do incredibly messed up stuff, like the era of Joker without a face.
Yeah.
That was just because they were like, well, Joker's committed every sort of crime at this point. Yeah. How we make Joker interesting? Well, he cuts his face off and that staples it back on. That's how. And you're like, okay, is that all he does? Yeah, basically. Then he goes back to being Joker. Okay.
Funny. I think all you need to do to make him work is go back to the Mark Hamill version, where he would show up and his crimes were less about like killing people in horrible ways, and they were more about being noticed. Almost like he would go on TV and he would become like a satire of television almost. You would like go and hold everyone in a talk show hostage and be like, and try and do like a Christmas special. I think those are the more interesting versions, where it's like Batman's like, Joker is just lonely at Christmas, he needs me to be, I'm his family, and so I think if it's weird, I don't know if anyone would agree with me here, but I kind of want Joker to go back to being a bit of a lovable scamp. Like I kind of wonder if he was like just a guy who was like a lot of fun to be around, and
until he isn't.
I miss the clown in the Clown Prince of Crime.
No, edgelord Joker that we currently always get is boring at this point. I mean, I loved Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight.
Well, it's nothing compared to Jared Leto, though.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you're right.
Here.
Well, I mean, because the funny thing is, I think Heath Ledger's Joker doesn't go to that place. I think Heath Ledger's Joker is really interesting because of how you see that he's this kind of guy who's kind of, there's that scene with them over the table where he goes, you complete me, you know what I mean? And he's like, at the end, he's like, I think we're destined to do this forever. And it's just like, it's like that story is less about how crazy and fucked up he is and more about the fact that he is just someone who's found their opposite, counterpart, and is like so overjoyed to have found him. that to me is really special. He's basically like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go back to ripping off mob dealers? What? No. Like, I found you. It's like the episode of Friends where Joey finds his identical hand twin. And I think that's my favorite reading of that film. Particularly, I'm less interested in the knives and the murders and things.
I think unfortunately though, it started a trend of anarchy Joker, of just and it fueled by stupid teenage boys that just wanted to. I think we all knew some guy in school that was just way too into the Joker.
Yeah.
And that's you never met that guy with Mark Hamill Joker. That was never a thing. People understood that was just not someone you wanted to be.
Yeah.
It's always like a bro with a flat brim hat who's never read a fucking comic book a day in his life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's almost like the snake eating its own tail, isn't it? It's like imitating art, imitating life, in that you basically have the type of person who would be a follower of the Joker if the Joker was real.
Yeah.
And has seen him in a movie and been like, oh, I like that character. And it's like, no, you don't get it. You're the wrong. You like it. You know what I mean?
So it's like, so you didn't get the movie.
Oh God.
So what are your inspirations as far as like your animation style?
Okay, well, interesting. I'm gonna kind of give myself away here. This is like my first animation that I've ever done, and I kind of was making it up as I went along. Like I was using Adobe Animate, and I then started using Toon Boom and stuff. I've been drawing my whole life, and I've been flip books and things, and a little bit of Flash when I was a kid. But basically, I realized in the first couple of shots that I was doing that I had to lean into my limitations. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, at the end of the day, I thought, okay, it's going to be janky. I don't have a team of cleanup artists. Right. I can't double check every line is straight. So I thought, let's just make it like a comic book. Let's make it like Jock made it or something, or Sean Murphy or Capullo or any of those guys. People have been likening it to like the Spawn HBO show and things like that, where it's like handmade. So it's almost like stop motion animation. Like if you take a look at something like The Nightmare Before Christmas, you trust it more than you trust like Megamind or something, because Megamind is so smooth. It's like every frame is like whereas like there's something about the kind of animating on twos, like kind of 12 frames a second, that the animated series had. And for some reason, like I think especially guys like kind of in our age range, we kind of trust, it's the Saturday morning cartoon. So I was like, okay, I know I can't make it perfect, so I'm going to make it deliberately not perfect, and a lot of the elements are actually things that I've hand drawn and scanned in and colored and then incorporated into animated frames and things. So it's kind of got a lot going on all at the same time. And I think in terms of influences, obviously you got the animated series. Into the Spider-Verse was a really big influence for me, just in terms of like the backgrounds and the fact that it's like difficult to look at, but doesn't need to all be perfect. It's like if you actually look at the buildings in the background of Spider-Verse, they've just got like weird geometric shapes in the windows, but it's just kind of the brain sees windows and things like that. Obviously, like something like Avatar: The Last Airbender was a huge thing for me, and old animes like Akira and things like that. Obviously, I think Batman Gotham Knight in 2008 was a huge. I think that was the thing that made me think like I could do it, because when they got those amazing artists in, firstly, it's an anthology piece, so Batman changes every single. It's the same. It's all like meant to be the same story, but his costume, his bat suit changes every like 5 minutes. And I'm like, that's cool. It's like I'm just imagine that I'm like just the sixth guy to make a Man Gotham Knight film. It doesn't you could be like, oh, I didn't like episode 5, I preferred episode 6 or whatever, and it's like, that's, mine just can just sit there, So I think I was very inspired by that, and also a lot of that is very anime style, kind of janky. Again, I use the word janky in a very positive way. I hope that's that works.
Jank is sometimes good.
Yeah, I think janky is really good. I think too smooth and it starts to look like it's like a computer did it. You know what I mean?
I think it's good when it's done like you did deliberately. If it's an accident, it can be less good.
Yeah. I think I could definitely get better. I'm sure I'll go by leaps and bounds in future, animations, not even necessarily Batman animations, but I think I'm going to take a big break, definitely, and I'll probably throw a lot of time into like actually doing some self-education on a lot of kind of animation techniques and stuff. It's amazing that like people like this because it is kind of like it's kind of a little cobbled together thing, and it's amazing that it does kind of sell, because I watch it and all I see is like the imperfections. I'm just like, oh, that shot doesn't work, and that's that. But I guess just people there's a suspension of, there's a creative license, isn't there?
Yeah. There was a lot of scenes in there that I thought were really good, just because of kind of the choppiness of it sometimes. And it now that I hear that you saying that it's deliberate, it makes it even more impactful because it made it seem like Batman was more menacing sometimes. Just because, I mean, there's that one scene where he takes out the fluorescent light bulb and it's just swinging and it's dark, and then like a second later he's just next to the guy.
Yeah, that was the second shot that I did. That was like the first shot of him smashing the light and then him disappearing behind it. Those were the two first shots that I did, and that was before I even knew I was going to do a 15-minute short. It was just to animate Batman beating up some guys, and it turned into the whole film. Like it was just kind of like, you're right. It's very, like if you look at the way the light is playing against him as the strip light passes him, it's all very graphic. It's almost like the original Clone Wars cartoon or something, like very block, kind of lots of like flat color. Actually, another thing that I've been thinking about in terms of the art is actually one of the reasons why a lot of the modern animated stuff that studios put out for superhero things, I don't really like, is that there's never any like solid black. You ever notice that? It's always like
dark blue.
Yeah, like tone, like gray tones or mistiness, and it's like, to me, a comic book is black shadows, pure black, and so with this, like if you take a look at like anytime there's like a fold in the character's clothing, it's just these kind of jagged black lines and stuff. I love that. I think I can't believe people don't do that anymore. It's such a it just screams comic book to me,
Absolutely. It's so lost because, not only with newspapers, but like some of the best comic books of all time were just black and white. I mean, V for Vendetta, they're more, From Hell, also Alan Moore. All those books, it's just a different shading.
Yeah, exactly. And it can take more skill in a way. Like I'm such a big I'm so envious of artists that can do something with just black and white. You know what I mean? I'm okay at it, but like it's if someone can make a scene just out of like negative space, again, that's another reason why I love Sean Murphy's artwork, because he'll do like just like this long shadow that goes up a wall or something, and it's stunning stuff. Yeah, I forgot how we got to this. I'm talking myself in circles, but
you're fine. So something I love the homage to Batman the Animated Series that you did.
Thank you.
With him standing on the rooftop, I was like, oh, yeah. I see what you did.
Well,
what's that?
Did you catch the other one as well?
There's during the fight with Harvey.
Yeah, during the fight.
The flashing light.
Like when he goes like that.
Yeah,
turns into that. Yeah. Yeah. I thought twice about doing those because I was like, oh, maybe it'll take people out of the story and stuff.
I loved it.
Yeah.
People seem to really love it. I think it's a testament to how deeply embedded those images are in people's heads. Just like me, like it's the thing that I always remember is him standing on the roof and stuff.
Yeah. It was just a nice little tip of the hat.
there's like 4 Batman images that I think are ingrained in everyone's head. It's him on the rooftops, him with like the cape like that.
Mhm.
The jumping scene from Batman Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's why
Harry,
I almost like did it. I don't know why.
yeah,
It's such a weird way of having a conversation. Oh, you mean like when he goes?
exactly. Yeah, but
And then
yeah,
what's the fourth one?
The pearls. It's gotta be the pearls.
It's the pearls, but I feel like everyone the pearls have been they're the ones that everyone does, and it's just like boring now.
I think another one would be, I always used to think of this as a metaphor for like, the teenagers, the angsty teenagers, or like just men in general. I think is that like is Batman holding Robin's dead body, and just going like no, like that. I think it's kind of like that's how all men feel about like of showing emotion. It's like only when I'm holding my son's dead body will I emote. Other than that, I'm Batman all the time.
Yeah, the world could be coming to an end, and Batman's just like, well, we have to go to Plan B, I guess.
I knew that. I'm counting on it.
I was not expecting the fans to vote to kill Robin.
Yeah, Jesus. That's some Harvey Dent democracy right there.
Yeah,
right. So this may have been something that was done just out of necessity, but ultimately really worked in your favor. The choice to not include any of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? It was kind of a choice. Yeah, because it kind of occurred to me like midway through the process. I was like, I don't have a place for him, and to this day, I think I haven't really ever drawn him. Like, I don't know how his face fits into the cowl, really. I mean, one day I think I will, and I'll shove the picture up on Instagram or something, and be like, "It's what he looks like," And I don't know what his hair looks like,
I only noticed this because I didn't notice Bruce Wayne was missing. I noticed Alfred was missing. I was like, "Where's Alfred?" And I was like, "Oh wait, there's no Bruce."
And Jim, no Jim.
Like no Jim.
He's not even there at the end because it's only 15 minutes. I was like, if we get to the end and there's Jim, but he doesn't say anything, what a jit,
Yeah.
He's just adjusting his glasses.
Like that, just like it's like no, like you'd want Batman to be hung upside down having a chat with him about something, And like we've got Bullock and Montoya, but they don't even get any lines, we don't have time. And I think it kind of, firstly, it's nice to kind of, I think the one thing I do regret is it would have been lovely to have some Alfred. I kind of want to see the cave as well. Like, I always love the kind of the calmness of the cave and stuff. It always makes you feel calm in the animated series when just like there he is, he's at the computer, and Alfred's dusting something in the background.
His tea ready somehow.
Yeah, he comes up.
Yeah. The joints on Alfred to be able to get up and down all those stairs.
Oh my God.
Alfred's the actual hero of every Batman story.
Yes, he is.
No one can convince me of anything else.
Oh man. Let me just say this one thing about
Bruce Wayne,
which was that I don't know if you noticed this, but in the credits, every one of the main characters is a double role. So it's like, Brian Vaughan is Batman and Bruce Wayne, David Trumble is Harvey Dent and Two-Face, and then I'm Arnold Wesker and Scarface. So it's like duality runs through the whole thing. And so there would be lines that my brother did. My brother David plays Two-Face, by the way. He's absolutely amazing. Well, I mean, firstly, he's my twin brother, so he understands duality very well. Secondly, he dressed up as Two-Face at a fancy dress party when we were in uni as the animated series with the blue paint and white hair, and he went around, I swear to God, he spent the entire night going like this, like face in this position for an entire night. It was absolutely genius, and I just knew
just stone cold sober because he can't get any beer past
He's drinking.
It's a shame vaping hadn't been created yet, But I would get him to do lines as Harvey, and then I'd get him to do lines as Two-Face. So it kind of alternates throughout the film. just so I had the option. And the thing is, with Batman, I would say to Brian, could you do this line as Bruce? You know, so even though he's in the suit, there are lines where I think Bruce is in the film. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of comes from Kevin Conroy as well, because he would do that in, you know, even if he's wearing the suit, sometimes he'll be like Harvey, and you know he's talking as Bruce.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, the idea of not having Bruce in is it is interesting because it's very rare to not see him. But at the same time, I think it gives Batman that kind of mythic, you know, he's like, it's almost like, I wanted it to just feel like one night on patrol, like just a day in life, you know, bit like Judge Dredd in a way, the Dredd movie, where it's just like one day, just one case, you know, quite inconsequential, really, you know.
I think now knowing the twist at the end, of it being Two-Face all along, combined with, you know, because you were hearing the campaign, you know, speeches and everything at the beginning, so you don't actually know that this is after all that until Two-Face shows up. I think having Bruce Wayne show up, because you're right, what would he be doing? He would have to be interacting with somebody important to the plot, and I think it might have just given it away if we had done that. Because then you who are you gonna have him talk to? Harvey pre Two-Face?
I think my brother ad-libbed a line during the speech, which you can't really hear. It's just in the background because you can hear the campaign speech going on while Scarface is talking to the gang. But there's a bit when he says that joke about Bruce, and it's like, I beat him at racquetball, and then there's a laugh, and then my brother went, "Don't look at me that way, Bruce, I'll whoop you again." So it's like he's put Bruce in the scene. He's at the campaign with him, being his best mate, stood in the wings, which I think is kind of cool. So Bruce is kind of like there, but it's almost as if Bruce is like a ghost in the film, as much as Harvey's a ghost. You know, it's just Batman and Two-Face now, the two people who are left after both those other characters are kind of gone, essentially.
Right.
So in a way, I think I like that. I like that when he's talking to him at the end, it's like we both lost half of ourselves, you know. And it's like they're weirdly I like it when Batman shows up and Two-Face is like, no, it's Batman. Like, don't shoot him. It's Batman. We're gonna have a conversation first because it's Batman. You know, it's almost like he's still his friend weirdly, even though he doesn't know he's Bruce. You know, he's always like, it's okay. Batman's not going to kill me. We're just going to have a chat and then we're going to have a fight. It's going to be
okay. That's always some of my favorite stuff with superhero stories, for sure, is when they just show up and have a talk. It's not a whole fight. And like there's an episode of Justice League Unlimited where Flash goes up to, I think his name's the Trickster. And he's like, hey, after this drink, go turn yourself in. And he's like, you got me again, Flash.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure that's also played by Mark Hamill.
It is. It is Hamill. Oh my god,
he's just really good at playing crazy people.
He is. So how did you land on doing a drug story? A drug storyline? I mean, it's not, there are plenty of Batman storylines with drugs, but it's not the most popular.
Yeah. That's an interesting question. I think it was like, it came from because I realized it was going to be Two-Face before I thought of the drugs thing. So I knew it was going to be Batman versus Two-Face. And I thought, what does Two-Face represent? And I started thinking about kind of political, he's a politician. He's one of the only characters in the Batman story who used to be a politician. So there's already, and it's not an angle that gets explored a lot when he's Two-Face. They explore it a lot when he's Harvey, but not when he's Two-Face. And I thought, what would he be thinking about as a politician? And it just made me think of how polarized the world is now. It's literally the extreme right and the extreme left, and if you're part of one side, you hate the other side, and it's just like this kind of polarization. And then I started thinking about inequality, because in a way Harvey hates inequality. He wants everything to be equal. He's Two-Face. He wants it to be 50-50. And I started thinking about things like economic inequality and corruption, and so in a way he started almost having a kind of Bernie Sanders kind of message, where he's got this kind of thing of like, I started thinking about the idea that mass incarceration economy, and if you're a certain member of society and you get caught with drugs, you go to jail for the rest of your life, and if you're another type of person, then you don't. And that's how you end up with the guy in the penthouse, surrounded by cops, and everyone cares about how he died. And then you have the two people in the streets who nobody knew were dead except Batman, because Batman's the only one who cares, and Batman stood over them like the Grim Reaper. And it's not like he killed them, but he's like their witness. He's like the only person who's there to witness them dead. And I just thought, okay, so if Harvey cares about equality, he would want to somehow end this kind of structural inequality that you see in the war on drugs, this kind of unwinnable war where people inevitably are unfairly judged, And his only way of doing it was, okay, well, how do I make it so that half the people who take the drugs die, and maybe it wouldn't last very long, like it might only last like a week before the police clamp down, but he would have destroyed the drug trade in Gotham, and he takes over two gangs, which means that he can guarantee that rich people and poor people will both die. But because he's Harvey, he hasn't done the math right, because the poor people still die. You know what I mean? He's not like balancing the scales in a way that actually adjusts for the inequality. He's just being like bullheadedly polarized about it. And so it's like he thinks he's got it, but he kind of hasn't got it.
Yeah, that's a good point. The rich people would just buy like drug testing kits and be like, okay, I'm just gonna test this for poison.
Exactly. Like it wouldn't last that long, but it's just like Batman says, it's like, before anyone knows what happens, like hundreds of thousands of people will have died for like no reason at all. And I can see what you're trying to do, but he can only view the world through this level of hatred, like he's kind of, there's a couple of lines in the film that suggest that Two-Face's problem isn't really the coin, it's that he's so angry and he doesn't know why. And then that's why when Batman takes the coin away, he's just rage, like he's like a wild animal almost. And I feel like that's why everyone in the world is in such a polarized place right now, because for some reason, like, people are just so fucking angry all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they don't know why, and they're trying to work out why they're so angry. And so they think, oh, it's because I'm this guy and this guy over here I hate. That's why, their fault. And that's why every time you see something horrible happen in the news, it's because of some person who thinks that some other person is responsible for why they're so angry and why they're so unhappy. I don't know if that makes any sense. That's
no, I think it makes perfect sense.
That's my attempt to try and answer that question. But maybe it was just like I thought of drugs and I thought, oh, that's a relatively ground level, real world plot, and I like the idea that Batman does care about, the victims of overdoses and things. Like, it's something that you don't usually see, it's not just like, Joker's made some, giant toy soldiers and they're trashing the town or something, Mr. Freezing things and stuff, it's the type of thing that does happen in the world,
And I think it really plays in with, like, I mean, you just explained it yourself, but like it plays into the whole duality subject, which is the crux of the whole story, pretty much, right? Like, it's just, the rich people and the poor people.
Yeah.
But both of them, I mean, yeah, what everything you just said is just poor people, poor people and rich people. I can't say anything better than you.
It could be poor, it could be rich, it could be left, it could be right. It could be pro cop or pro person on the street. It could be Blue Lives Matter versus Black Lives Matter. It could be anything. It's just kind of, I didn't want to be too political. I mean, it's funny because like the Justice League Unlimited show was so political. It was so well written. Like the Hawk and Dove episode of Justice League Unlimited is incredible. It's like a thesis on like war and liberals and conservatives. And I as a person, I veer quite liberal. Like, I'm just like a standard kind of liberal, bumbling English guy. But I didn't want to make something, but I feel like the film could be enjoyed by anyone because the film doesn't really come out on either side. It just shows that the world is so fractured, and it's bad for everyone that people are so angry all the time, and I think that it's not one of those things where I didn't want to feel like people would be like, oh, this is like a kind of smug liberal kind of thesis, even though I probably am a smug liberal, but I feel like it's more like the only way that I could react to what's happening in the world right now is to put Two-Face in it.
well, and not just Two-Face. I mean, both of your villains are fractured right down the middle, pretty much. It seems.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, definitely. Well, then you've got like Arnold Wesker, who betrays himself.
Yeah.
Because he's so desperate for someone to tell him what to do. He doesn't shoot Scarface so that he can be free. He shoots Scarface so that Mr. Two-Face can now tell him what to do. And he says that line where he goes like, he's coming to set us free. He's going to take all our choices away. And it's like, I feel like that sometimes where like, I've literally said that, I think, in like therapy sessions where someone said like, what do you want? And I'm like, I kind of want someone to come and take all my choices away. You know what I mean? Because it makes life so much easier. Making a choice is so, it's horrible. And then you always blame yourself for the choice you made. Like, oh, I fucked up the choice, And it's actually like, I feel like a lot of extremism in the world is all down to people just being like, oh, just someone tell me what to do, please. Someone tell me who to hate or who to, whose fault is it? Just someone tell me whose fault it is. And then I can get angry and like that. So that's kind of the way I thought about Scarface and, Arnold was he's a guy who's so trapped in his like duality that he's willing to give up his entire autonomy just to feel free of his pain. You know what I mean? And then ultimately he gets betrayed again. He gets let down by the person he put all his faith into, which is ultimately, I think, what happens to a lot of people who do put their faith in somebody else in that kind of way. People will give up their autonomy, and often they do end up getting thrown under the bus. You inevitably have to make the decision for yourself. You have to choose to do the right thing, because Two-Face might just flip the coin and then shoot you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God, I feel like I didn't know I was going to get this philosophical, man. I hope.
No, I understand what you're saying completely, because there was years and years where I was also just unreasonably angry and didn't understand why I was until it was corrected later on.
Me too.
I'm speaking, of course, about when they brought back the lime Skittle. I didn't realize that them changing it to green apple would have made my life so much more difficult. But now, we're all good now.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you're such a deep person, man, because they're both they're both in the green, So it's like really, really, really like you're a surgeon with that neuroses. I love
They
it.
thought I wouldn't care. They thought I wouldn't care, but I cared so much. You get a handful of Skittles and you throw them in your mouth, but that it used to be fun. It used to be fine, but then now that green apple's there, I gotta pick and choose my Skittles. But we're back to just everyone being okay.
It's starting to sound like a manifesto, okay? Don't say anything you're going to regret later, is what I'm saying.
No, it's fine. They fixed it. I burned a lot of the books that I was writing about.
No, that was just an excerpt. So I have one final question, and unless Tish has anything to follow up, then I think we'll be good. So was creating this, was this like kind of a form of therapy? Like, was it like therapeutic to be creating this? Like, because, you are a twin, so I'm sure you have thoughts on duality that I don't.
It definitely was. It definitely was. Even just in the fact that I made it in lockdown. I started it during the pandemic when we were all just stuck at home, and I'm a freelance artist, so I did manage to work, which was good, so I wasn't broke, and I moved in with my girlfriend, who is amazing, and we're still together, and the relationship didn't crumble, and and she actually is Claire Wicks, who did the score for the film, an amazing score. Everyone go check out stuff. It's Claire Writes Music on YouTube. She's amazing. And she was such a good collaborator as well, which I didn't expect, not because of like the fact that we're a couple, but just because like she wasn't even a Batman fan until like I was her connection to Batman, and she made such a good bat score. It's unbelievable. But yeah, no, I am a guy who I've always wanted my artwork to be seen, because I earn my money as a storyboard artist, which means I draw lots of pictures that nobody sees, you know, unless it's Star Wars storyboards and they'll publish a book about them or whatever. And so only recently have I started getting jobs where I'm doing animation that gets, you know, I've done a couple of promos for like BT Sports and UFC and One Championship and things like that, where, you know, I actually did the artwork and it's on screen. And I went to film school originally. I was a one of those film school boys who choose director as their specialism, which is a nice way of saying I want to leave university with no qualifications at all, like not a single employable skill. Like it's like people be like, oh, what did you learn in university? And it's like I told other people what I wanted the film to look like. You know, that's essentially what a director does. You know, and then when it came to doing this, it was like, oh, I could just make. I can make a film again. I can make a thing, you know, and I can direct it with an unlimited budget, because the budget is what I can draw. You know, I've got lots of time. I love the character, and yeah, it was so therapeutic. And then the issues and the themes, like the duality and stuff, just kind of came out of it in a kind of, that came out almost as a byproduct. But the other thing was kind of seeing a Batman that I wanted to see, in that several of the elements of Batman's character are elements that I haven't seen enough of in recent adaptations, such as his compassion. And I mean, obviously everyone loves talking about the no-kill rule, but like, you know, he does save Arnold from gunfire, and he even saves Two-Face from his own Batmobile. You know, he could have just pancaked Two-Face, but he doesn't, you know, because again, it's a restriction on his character, and that makes it more interesting, you know, than if he doesn't have a restriction. It's you know, and it's like the type of Batman that I wanted to see again was that kind of Batman who's vulnerable. You know, he can have a heart-to-heart with someone even when he's wearing the bat suit, you know, and things like that. So and then the most therapeutic thing is the fact that it's actually finished. It's so it's like I don't know what to do with myself. I'm just like, it exists now. It's just on the internet, you know, people can watch it. And
next is Batman Kept Promise.
Yeah, for a second I was thinking of doing Batman Broken blah blah blah, and then I was like, oh, it's the fucking Spider-Man thing. I can't do that. Like, Batman Broken you know, mirror or something.
Broken back.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But it has nothing to do with Bane. It's all just
no Bane.
although but Bane is the guy that I get the most messages from people insisting that they're going to play him in the next one. They're just like, by the way, I'm Bane in the next one, like as if like they can just like announce that they're going to be Bane. It's really,
they're just putting it out into the universe for you to take it.
I'm gonna
I mean, everyone owns a mug, and they've all used a weird British accent to talk into the mug.
Oh no,
so everyone has a Bane voice now.
We go full Hispanic. We go back to the OG, the OG Bane, big time. And
you mean
spoken OG? You know.
You mean 5'7" Tom Hardy Bane wasn't your cup of tea?
I mean, I liked what he did. I liked his part of that film, but he's kind of, you know, I feel like it's almost as if like, why even have it be Bane?
Yeah, he's not Bane. He's just, his name is Bane, and he breaks Batman's back very, very shortly.
Yeah.
Apparently it's something easy to fix. I didn't know that.
Yeah. You just got to hang from a rope for a day.
Yeah.
That's all you're gonna do is just go like this for a day.
And they don't even have him like taking steroids or anything. It's like he's not chemically enhanced at all.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have done something where it was like he presses a button, and instead of growing big, he just gets really, really, really like he's on PCP.
Like
you know
a
what I mean?
giggle
He gets veiny.
Just like he could slam himself into a wall 8 times and go through it, but because he's so jacked, but not physically. I don't know. I feel like there's potential for Bane as a character. He's another one of those unloved characters. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, people are always trying to tell me that they're gonna voice Bane. It's really funny. Oh man.
So if you had to pick another superhero, who would your second be? End it on a softball.
Okay,
Maybe.
I'm going to throw a curveball here. Daredevil.
Excellent choice.
I was
Excellent choice.
very
Yeah.
inspired by the Daredevil show, even in Batman Broken Promise, by the fact that like I added grain to the to make it look almost kind of, because I know that they didn't shoot those on film, but they added grain because it just gives it that grimy quality. And so I did the same with mine, and also the pitch black shadows. You know what I mean? Like that's why the show looks so good compared to something like Hawkeye, because the shadows are black. They're black shadows. It's what makes it look like film. It's what makes it look like film. It's amazing, you know. Yeah, I go Daredevil. I do a Daredevil long take fight, but animated or something, you know. And it would be like, I don't know. I always thought it'd be really cool to see like a Daredevil fight scene, but from the perspective of him being blind, if you know what I mean. Like find some visual way of depicting it.
So it's like it's just a black screen.
Well,
No,
the spinal tap of superhero movies. But you know, like in the comics, he has that kind of like radar vision.
Yeah.
You know, like if you could find a way to visually do that, I think
I've always
doing an animation.
Well, so in the comics, he always describes it as a world on fire, and I think they do it once in the TV show, like only once. I'm like, I would love to see the world like that all the time.
Yeah. What I would do is I would do a long take fight scene, and he's there in the middle of it, and everything else is on fire. Yeah, like that would be amazing. And he's fighting a bunch of guys in an alleyway, and like stuff is coming off them like flame, but it's because they stink, and he can smell them. Do you know what I mean? They just stink. It's like they're an open sewer in front of him, you know, or he like punches somebody in the face so many times that there's like this kind of blood, but it's like the smell of the blood. You know what I mean? Things like that. Oh, I love that.
There's a bunch of cool animated shit you could do for Daredevil for sure.
Yeah.
Actually, like one of my favorite superhero comics of all time is Daredevil. It's Born Again, Frank Miller.
Oh, right. Yeah. Is that the one that was heavily influenced the 3rd season when he's being back? Yeah, I need to read that. That.
It's amazing.
I think it's considered the only reason that Daredevil is still relevant is that Frank Miller story. Because Daredevil kind of sucked before Frank Miller came to the head.
Exactly, but he made Man Without Fear. I think there's a second one, and then he made Born Again.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I've got to go, because my love of Daredevil mostly comes from the show. Weirdly, you know, like I've got to actually dive into the comics.
Frank Miller is the one.
What would you guys like to see? What would you pick if you were going to see an animated thing?
Superhero wise, I mean, I'm gonna stay away from like the big ones like Superman and the Flash and all that, because I think they've been done to death. Honestly, I think I would really like more of like a noir style, The Question story.
Ooh, what a pick!
Right?
Wow.
Because I mean, Batman's the world's greatest detective, sure, but like The Question is just so much more interesting in any Batman story that he shows up with and shows up in, because you're just like, this guy knows a lot more than what's going on, but you're never gonna get to find out.
And it's always going to be relevant. It's going to be like if Noam Chomsky was running around beating people up.
Because like there's a line from Dark Knight Returns where Batman always had a loud quiet about him.
Yeah.
The Question's a quiet. Like he is straight under that fucking radar.
Doesn't even have a mouth.
Yeah, I mean, like just that would be fascinating. It'd be almost be like the Mandalorian, you know, like like show, like, you know, how much can we really care about a character without even seeing his face? You know, that'd be amazing. That's a great pick, man. I love that.
Wow. So that's really good tease.
Yeah. So follow up, Kyle.
So
What do you got?
my pick is Gambit. I just
Wow.
love Gambit. He's a gambler. He's a Louisiana guy, so you could have all sorts of fun stories with him.
Played by Channing Tatum. What's not
You could just have him like hopping the rails, you know, riding the rails and being a fucking degenerate.
Actually, yeah, like you could like it could be like, you know, stream of consciousness almost. Like it's just like, you know, he meets a pretty girl and he spends a night with her and then he jumps a train and then like a plot will happen like 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's cool. And also he's been a bit of a busted flush, hasn't he? Kind of with depictions, hasn't he? They've tried. It's so weird, isn't it? Like when with those films where they don't really know how to kind of work characters in. And it's kind of like as if people are just afraid to just do the characters. Like
I think they try to do like 6 of them at a time. That's the problem.
Yeah. Would it just have him in the film as him? You don't have to work a clever way of bringing him into a Wolverine origin story. Just have him be one of the X-Men. It's not difficult. I mean, it's just have him be there.
Yeah.
It's difficult at all.
Oh man, that movie's awful. Look, we're not gonna get into that movie. We're gonna cut it here.
Kyle's having Civil War flashbacks about
Oh my god.
Greatest depiction of Deadpool on film.
Oh yeah, the merc with the mouth, minus the mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
So this has been another episode. Oh, Tej has a question. Never mind. This is not.
Well, I was gonna say before we sign off,
we should.
If people want to find more of your work or if they want to follow you, where can they find you, man?
Okay, well, obviously the YouTube channel, but there's also an Instagram and a TikTok for Stephen Trumble Animation. And I'm always posting new artwork that I'm drawing, and often I'll do like a reel of like, you know, the art process that I use. And I'm going to do a couple of behind the scenes things for the film. And, you know, if and when I make anything else animated, it will come up on there. I also have a podcast, which is called 50 Uses for the Word Love, which is on all the places where you can find podcasts. And it has an Instagram as well. And that's a podcast where we talk about how weird it is that there's so many different meanings for this one word, you know, like nostalgia or, you know, the way you feel about your mother is the same word as you would say is like, oh, I really love sausages, you know, like. So every episode is taking a different meaning and kind of chatting shit about it. And then you can follow me on Twitter at Stephen Trumble.
That's a fun concept for a podcast. So because, you know, you just in American Sign Language alone, there are like 6 or 7 different signs for love, depending on how you're talking about love.
Oh, that's amazing. I got to do that as an episode.
Yeah, there's like this means like you are really passionate about something. Like I love sports, but then there's like oh I love that, and then
so
cool. then there's actual I love you.
That's I love you.
Well, this.
Oh, but that seems like you're at a rock concert.
Yeah, love rock.
That's like romantic. That's like intimate love. Like
it's because ILY. So ILY. If you do it really fast, it blurs together and becomes that.
Okay.
ILY.
Oh, that's gorgeous. I love that. That's so interesting. I'll look into that, man. Thanks.
Yeah. Good episode idea.
It's great because it's kind of like 50 uses for the word love, and then one episode is about when you don't have words. You know? You just have sign language. You know, that's really interesting. I like that a lot. Thanks, man.
Of course.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh,
thanks for having us.
It's been lovely to have you here. If you come out with something else, we will definitely have you back on. And we might, you know, maybe we'll just hit you up for like a guest watching of a movie with us.
Oh, that would be a joy.
There's hundreds of other movies for us to still watch, so there'll be plenty of opportunities.
Yeah,
that would be a ton of fun. Thanks, guys.
Maybe for our next Batman one, we'll hit you up.
Yeah, definitely.
That sounds like fun. So it was great having you, man. You can sign out if you want, and then I'm just gonna do the outro, and then we're good.
You kicking me out? You kicking me out of the Zoom?
Yeah. Go ahead and get the hell out of here, dude.
Get the fuck out of here. Oh, he left.
Okay, everyone. So this has been another episode of That Cartoon Podcast. See ya on the next one.
Maybe.
Who knows? Bye.